A drop punt is a vital skill in AFL. It is used in all facets of the game. It is needed to pass to teammates, gain territory, and to kick goals. A drop punt is when a player drops the ball in front of their body and makes contact with the ball with the swinging leg before it hits the ground.
The target was Zorko, gathered his own ball, wheels around off the right boot, and kicks another one!
An AFL drop punt can be classified as a gross motor skill due to it requiring large muscle groups, a closed motor skill because it is paced by the individual, and a discrete motor skill due to it having a definite start and end. According to Gentile's taxonomy table, an AFL drop punt would be at stage 4D, as the movement has body transport and object manipulation. It is also in motion and contains high amounts of inter-trial variability due to the demands of the skill changing depending on the game situation. Due to an AFL drop punt having a high task organisation, we will mostly be using whole practice because many processes of the skill are interrelated. Even though technique differs person to person, there are three main phases of an AFL drop punt. These include the preparation phase, where a step is taken with the non-dominant leg, an action phase where the ball is dropped and the leg is swung back, creating momentum to kick the ball, and then a follow-through phase, where the ball has left the foot and the foot and leg have swung high in front of the body. Before the training commenced, we conducted a pre-test using both qualitative and quantitative measures. We conducted 10 trials where the participant was required to kick the ball from 20 metres away into a marked zone. The qualitative measure was to see if the participant used the correct technique when kicking the ball, and the quantitative measure was to see whether the participant landed the ball in the marked zone. As you can see from the data in the table, the participant is clearly in the cognitive stage of the Fitz and Posner model. This is due to the participant having a large amount of errors and lacking in consistency. During week 1 and the initial stages of our training program, we use more of a top-down approach as practitioners. This is so the learner can familiarise themselves with the important aspects of the skill. We achieve this by instructing the learner and giving the learner immediate feedback, and then also providing demonstration on the proper technique and telling the learner all the rules of our initial drills. For example, we told the learner exactly how many steps to take before kicking. After the first week of training, we changed tact and used more of a bottom-up approach, so the novice could familiarise themselves with how the movement feels regarding the environment and for it to be more relevant to real game-based situations. This was achieved by manipulating the task and environmental constraints of our drills. Some of the constraints we manipulated were increasing the realness of the situation by kicking to a moving target, implementing a defender, and then receiving a pass and kicking to a moving target.
The learning style our participant identified as, based off the VAR questionnaire, was quite kinesthetically dominant, so from the outset we used this to get straight into the field and practice this drill. Motivation was not a problem for the participant, as the participant had a healthy intrinsic motivations to be the best he can be at all sports, as he is an exercise and sports student. He was more than willing to learn each session. We chose to use mass practice in the form of 3 30-minute sessions weekly. This was chosen as the kick was a discrete task and didn't come with too much complexity. Further being supported by a study conducted by Baddeley and Longman, concluding that people would learn better by shorter practice sessions, higher in number, as opposed to longer sessions with fewer in number. Upon being instructed on how to execute the kick, the participant was also given 3 verbal cues to keep in mind when completing the kick. They were head forward, follow through, and drop straight. These were used because they were critical elements of the motor skill, short and concise, and ensured the focus of attention was internal. The use of explicit instruction in the first few weeks was used to ensure deep understanding of the task, followed by some implicit instruction to promote autonomy. This is how we balance manual guidance with knowledge of results and explicit instruction, but we did use implicit instruction when approaching game-like scenarios, which allowed the participant to test their attention of the task and application by providing no instruction on how to execute the task. It is clear that in week 1 the participant is in the cognitive phase, with the task being completely new, and as we can see there is a lack of consistency. We challenged this by providing verbal instruction of critical key elements by using precise language, and we further directed the session as we knew the focus of the participant's attention should remain on the key motor skills. Following, in week 4, the participant finished in the intermediate stage, with fewer errors and refinement being seen, with cognitive problems being solved in the in-game scenarios. although the learner never became proficient with the skill, and it would be argued that more cycles of training would have to be incorporated in order to make the skill autonomous. Throughout the course of the program, we primarily use augmented feedback, which is defined as giving performance-related feedback in promoting task-intrinsic feedback. Moran, Murphy, and Marshall concluded that tennis players positively benefit from augmented feedback by providing information on service speed, further stating that the learning process was enhanced. Taking this on board, we decided it would be best to use the knowledge of results in our program, further using concurrent feedback and internal feedback to ensure the motor skill was performed correctly. Further, studies from Stern and colleagues concluded that using knowledge of results was beneficial as to opposed to not using any. Therefore, we decided to measure the kick accuracy in the first few weeks and feed it back to our participant. We then followed a fading mode to gradually reduce the dependence on knowledge of results, thus positively affecting performance results and fostering the participant's skills to be used in an in-game scenario. Has learning occurred? Improvement can be seen from week to week of the motor skill. We can tick that. Consistency. The participant gradually increases consistency based on knowledge of performance mode. Tick. As a part of the week 4 plan, we ensured external conditions acting on the participant did not disrupt the performance. Therefore, stability can be ticked. Adaptability. In a game-like scenario, we can see the client has used a series of motor control learning skills to piece together a motor skill and utilize it in an extremely variable climate. When the 4 weeks came to an end, a post-test was held to test the retention of the participant and gauge if performance had improved through learning. The post-test table represents the performance itself being performed correctly on 80% of trials, which is a 50% increase from the pre-testing, as well as accuracy increasing by 20% by the end of the 4 weeks. Therefore, it is clear the program worked. The participant would arguably receive some positive transfer as they had a rugby and soccer playing background, with some motor control movement patterns also being very similar to the kick.